And welcome back to Bloomberg News. I'm Lori Rothman. 2 years late, $4 billion over budget. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner is set to take off on its first test flight today. The 4-hour flight is scheduled for 1 p.m. New York time, about 15 minutes from now. The flight is the first step in Boeing's efforts to win Federal Aviation Administration certification for the Dreamliner. Alex Hamilton is Director of Research at Jesup Lamont. He joins us now in studio. Alex, great to see you.
Thank you for having me.
How big of a setback would it be if this does not happen, this test flight doesn't go off today for the Dreamliner?
Well, the reality is they opened a window, so it wouldn't be a surprise, but I think there's so much energy in the air right now, and I'm sure there's much more energy in Seattle. I think people just want to see this get off the ground.
Now, there was a report that because of inclement weather, they might curtail the length of the flight. Would that have any implications?
No, I mean, that's sort of been what they've prepared for. I think it's sort of funny that they're expecting perfect weather in Seattle. Good shot.
That's a good point, actually. All right, so the Dreamliner still has the most successful pre-order total. The numbers are this: 840 orders valued at $140 billion, even after 71 cancellations. I'm sure you know this, refreshing for our viewers. So if today's flight is successful, how beneficial will that be? Will it garner additional orders?
Interesting question. You know, I've argued that today's flight doesn't really mean anything. What we want to see is when they start delivering the aircraft and what that production ramp's going to be. I think this is interesting that this is coming on the heels of an industry group coming out and saying that they expect more losses for airlines, because who's going to order the aircraft? It's going to be the airlines, and obviously we need to look at the financial health of airlines. The problem with airlines is they don't have pricing power. United Airlines recently did order some 787s, and I think there are going to be advantages from the domestic airlines ordering, but I don't think that's going to be garnered by what's going to go on today.
Let's just do the sidebar, what you're referring to, the overall industry. International Air Transport Association is predicting 2010 airline losses will total $5.6 billion. That's 47% wider than an earlier forecast. So what's behind that?
Look, oil prices, once again, airlines don't have pricing power, but what we look at are the traffic patterns, and if you look at traffic patterns, we've had a year of big declines. Traffic declines are getting less bad, if you will. So I argue that I think traffic's going to improve. Some of the capacity has been taken out of the system, and that does bode well for commercial aerospace. But to that, one thing that I've argued is, great, 787 goes off. The first 100 to 200 aircraft aren't going to be profitable. So that gets us to, let's call it 2012, 2013. What happens to 737? Those production rates have not come down yet.
Is that what the Boeing CEO was referring to today when he said the Dreamliner probably, or his quote was, did put some pressure on profitability?
No, he referred to the fact that they've written off billions of dollars on this. Who knows? A lot of the analysts think that there's a carry loss forward on the aircraft. Boeing assures us that there's not. So I think the point is, and the consensus is sort of, the first few hundred aircraft going out the door are not going to be at a profit.
Got it. All right. So Boeing, in terms of its stock value, has lost half of its market share and value since the first Dreamliner delay was announced. So what's your outlook for BA shares now? I'm
a hold, and based on the premise that this year, calendar year, it has outperformed the market. It's up 30 and change. The market, the S&P's up 20 and change. So I would argue today's first flight, I would argue that a gradual recovery in the economy is priced in. I think arguing that 737 production rates will not come down argues for this cycle, this aerospace cycle, being different than all other cycles prior.
All right. Thank you for setting us up. Alex Hamilton of Jesup and Lamont.